Hey guys, what's up? This is Twisted, and this is our raw cap footage of our first kill on Imperial Vizier Zor'loc. Zor'loc! In Heart of Fear. Okay, yeah, so the basic strategy of this fight, you can see as soon as we engage, the whole room fills up with this stuff. When you're standing in that, you can't cast any spells, and it does do damage to you, so you have to get to the safe spots, which are these three little platforms around the room. Now, each of these platforms gives him like an extra ability, and he kind of like Chain does this ability while you're on that platform, forces you to like do different things per your strategy. So that's like the gist of the fight. Now, something he's doing this whole time, you'll see here, the gas, he's actually sucking the gas and it's making his lungs rip with his super gas, and then he's exhaling this gas, as you can see here on a target. And what it does to the target is it stuns them, and then they take like massive damage. The workaround with this is it's like a beam of yellow energy. I'll reposition my camera when he does it again, and you can see that the beam of yellow is like pretty visible. You can have anyone stand in there and interrupt the beam. So I mean, you could like to have your raiders just like running in and out, whoever's there and has a cooldown available, but we just had our tank do it, and apparently lots of other people have kind of come to the same conclusion in that strategy. So if you're a tank, since this is like a one tank encounter and you're not really taking that much damage, I guess your goal is to watch out for the yellow beams and interrupt them. Alright, so on this particular platform, it's random how he starts, but this platform he'll summon those little yellow discs, and the discs, they kind of go at you, and if you touch them, you take like massive damage. So as you can see here, we haven't really done a whole lot of attempts on him yet to get that down. I mean, our raiders are still taking damage, so I have to like sit here and heal some of the raiders who are taking damage, and it's not entirely predictable. Yes, the discs like all spawn out and you can see them coming at you, but discs also spawn under your feet and they go in like a direction, and if you're kind of going in the same direction, like if you're just going back and forth and back and forth, the discs will overcrowd you and you might get like pushed into a corner or something. So you kind of want to make sure that the path you're taking to avoid those discs is kind of circular, or at least not uniform, like not going into some sort of like not staying in the same general area, like continually moving around the area. And that mechanic does favor melee, so melee can still be close enough to do their rotation, like while dodging the discs. Okay, now on this platform, as you saw, he phase pushes at a health percentage, so you can control when to push. If you like need to stop, hold DPS, whatever, for whatever reason, we don't, but you can if you want to. When you get to this new platform, his new mechanic, he doesn't do the discs anymore. You know, he still takes those big hits of the gas and he still exhales it, but he doesn't do the disc summoning. Instead, he puts those little barriers on the ground that you saw, and then does this like silly high AoE damage. This is a healer check. What you want to do is you want to get under that barrier as fast as possible, but you can only have 4 people per barrier to get the benefit of being under the barrier. So you kind of need to pre-assign groups. There's always a barrier that spawns in melee range, so the melee group should just pretty much go to that barrier, and then the range just kind of need to coordinate which barrier they're going to. It's not that difficult to do in the move, but it's on a very predictable timer, and as you saw, I'm disciplined for this encounter, but I don't actually have those working accurate timers, so I'm pretty much just guessing at when to absorb, and my guesses they're pretty close, like for all things considered, but it is on a predictable timer, and I've noticed that it seems to be about 30 seconds-ish apart, but when we get into this last phase, you'll see here it seems to be like it's more on like a 45 second. So you can time out really, really big healer cooldowns here. And I think it's entirely possible to 2-heal that disc phase as well. Like we were 2-healing it to start. The reason we went 3 heals is because you'll see in the last phase you can have some bad RNG. That bad RNG can mess with your healers right before disc phase if they're proactive, like a disc priest, and it can just like mess up your raid, and you won't have enough healing to keep people up through that. But we did bump it up to 3 healers and had no problems with the DPS and rage. So I mean, it's kind of up to your comp how you want to handle that. Anyway, so on this particular platform, this is like the third platform. We push him again at a health percentage. You can see here that he doesn't do any of the discs or barriers anymore. He does a mind control. The thing about this mind control is it's really important for you to use all of those really like shitty PvP abilities that could mess up your raid before you get mind controlled. Now, I don't have an accurate timer for it, so in the first mind control, I don't get my fear off, and I fear our rogue right next to the boss, and he can't be interrupted for exhale and dies. and like, that's on me for not using my annoying abilities before I got mind controlled. If you see the second time mind control goes out, I throw up my Siphene, I throw up my Psychic Scream, try to get rid of everything that I can. You can see our other raiders are like using their big cooldown interrupts, like Counterspell Silence. They're trying to get rid of like loss of control effects. And the reason you're using those right before that is because you want them to be on cooldown for when you're mind controlled. Okay. So, I mean, that phase, it's the easiest, like, in my opinion, the mind controllers. You basically just have to have your DPS immediately switch targets to whoever's mind controlled, get them to 50%, and they break out. Now, this is the third phase. You push him, he goes in to the middle of the room, and then the gas clears out, and then, as you can see here, all of those abilities he was using on the platforms, he uses them all during this phase. So, on this phase, it's all about just putting together all three platforms, your strategy for every one of them. It's really important not to get hit by the avoidable damage like discs, and it's really important to sort of keep like, really crap abilities like mind control sort of under control, because since these are going back to back to back, you don't want to have like one overlapping the other, and mind control is the thing that could overlap into one of these other abilities that could like wipe you very quickly. And you also are going to be running low on mana here, and it's kind of like a burn to the end. So we saved Hero for this phase because the lower amount of these disc barriers we can have out, the better. Like the number of times we can have these shells coming out, and that means you just need to burn them to the end faster. So the reasons I was disc for this kill, I actually started as Holy, and this is including when we were 2 healing. My strategy for Holy was, as we were pulling, I would go to the platform where the discs, or not the discs, but the barriers spawn on. Even if he doesn't go to that platform first, I always started there, and then I would blow Power Infusion, my pre-pot, and put a Light Well down. And it was Glyph Light Spring, and the reason is I want to maximize the amount of burst healing that I'm doing. So if you're a healer, you want to maximize burst healing, you want to take anything that can give you a cooldown. So of course I have Power Infusion for this, but same thing applies with your other classes. If you have more cooldowns you can squeeze out, you want them for the discs, this like barriers phase. Now, it's on a predictable timer. You can effectively go into that phase with a pretty good buffering on your Spirit Shell or like Power Word Shield spam or something. That's good. And then I also bring some pretty like good DPS because the tank damage here is like almost negligible. Spot healing, it's a pretty predictable spot healing, even though you would have to stack Grace on someone who just got Exhale or something. It's not that difficult to keep up with. So doing Atonements full time is pretty good for DPS. But the reason I was also Holy on our first couple attempts is because that disc phase, when you're running around, the discs are chasing your raiders. Nobody's perfect. People are going to take damage, and as Discipline, you're really limited to healing on the move. So I chose Holy so I could do Serenity Renew bombs on people as they were getting hit by the discs, and that was doing a better job of keeping people alive. But as you can see, a couple attempts we kind of got it better under control, and we managed to score a kill without raiders taking too much damage from that.